Well, they started their season with the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg on the Sun Coast in Florida, and I've never seen anything like it. The wreckage, the carnage. 11 cars were wrecked on Sunday's street course. And the scariest part, 2 cars were airborne.
Wow.
There were cars that rear-ended each other, stopped right in the middle of the track, and here came the rest of the field, and there's no place for those cars to go, and they're flying. And 2 cars in different incidents rear-ended a car, went airborne over 2 cars, hit another car, and then crashed, and the framework broke down. Have never seen that. 4 drivers got hurt. There's hardly been any injuries in IndyCar racing in recent years because they've done such a phenomenal job with the cockpit and the structure of the cockpit. 2 years ago, they decided to enclose the driver's cockpit with a big bar over his head, and it's fully enclosed. Yesterday, 2 cars that were airborne came down and clipped the top of the car that was at the front end of the accident.
Wow. Okay.
If those bars had not been there, if that cockpit had not been enclosed, we would have had fatalities. One of the drivers was taken to the hospital with internal injuries. But it was really scary. And I've never seen so many collisions, cars rubbing tires, and the minute you rub tires, you ricochet out, and guys running into tire walls. It was really, it was so far out of the norm of what IndyCar racing has become. And granted, street courses are much different than running on a Indy 500 speedway. But they're going to have to evaluate why cars got airborne, because that's the one thing you don't want. You don't want cars airborne into catch fences. You don't want cars airborne going over fences into the crowd. It almost destroyed Formula One racing back in the day. Horrific accident at Le Mans in France. It killed like 24 people back in 1954. And I was well before catch fences and high guardrails and all that. But I've never seen anything like we did. And Marcus Ericsson, the Indy 500 winner, was running in the middle of the pack and all this traffic, and then all these wrecks occurred. He wound up winning the thing right at the end when the first and second place guys leading the pack rubbed tires with 3 laps to go and shot themselves into the wall. Strangest weekend I've seen. Like, good headline there, Weekend of Wreckage.
Weekend of Wreckage, yeah. And this was a Grand Prix that was a street race, and you got these open wheel cars. I mean, it kind of reminds you of F1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are the subtle differences between F1 and IndyCar?
Horsepower. Unbelievable horsepower in Formula One. I mean, what they're cranking in F1 is very different than what they're cranking here. But street courses have kind of become road courses and street courses is kind of the new thing in IndyCar racing. In fact, I think there's more street and road courses on the Indy schedule now than there are actual oval races. But Formula One that's obviously all road courses and street courses. Phenomenal expense, unbelievable speed and horsepower to these vehicles. And those guys, they sit in those things, and those things fly. So interesting. So IndyCar was one topic, but then we had